Dawson Rider Wiki.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here, and welcome to another Dawson's Top 5. So as I did with Saban, I wanted to do 2 videos like this for Bandai, so this is going to be the best of the Bandai America era of Power Rangers. Bandai America, especially in recent years, has become kind of a punching bag. In some cases, in very recent history, deservingly so. But I think there was a lot of cool stuff that came about it, especially since they've owned it since the beginning. And I feel like people tend to forget that there was some really cool stuff we got for a long time and just tend to get wrapped up in the hate. Don't worry, I do have a worst video that will highlight some of their worst decisions, but this is the top 5 best things that come out of the Bandai America era. Technically, they don't end until March, April, but I mean, I doubt there's going to be any surprises that would make either list between now and then. Real quick, I wanted to give an honorable mention to something I thought was a cool idea for them, which was Zord Builder, mainly because I know a lot of people don't like it, and I feel like it got unnecessary heat. Like, in some cases, sure, it had some unnecessary ports, but I never felt it detracted as much as other people thought it did, and I thought given the fact that MMPR 2010's mecha through Ninja Steel all works together in some way was a cool marketing ploy, not to mention the bikes and stuff. Even though it wasn't always the most intuitive, I thought that was a smart marketing move for kids. And it's funny to me because so many fans, there's like threads and threads on Ranger Board of people doing like what Sentai Mecha ports fit together to make fun combos, and that was cool to do, but apparently Zord Builder is blasphemy. So I thought that was a smart marketing move and something neat that they did to sort of thread the lines together for kids, and I wanted to give it some special attention. So for me, number 5, my number 5 favorite thing about Bandai America was the cool non-show / US exclusive things. I know there's some people that aren't a fan of that stuff, but because that's something you really don't see in Sentai or Rider, like Toku Toys in general, they just do mainly what's in the show. But I like that Bandai America always had cool non-show things like bikes and battleizers and transforming things. It was just really cool to see what they came up with each year for them. Like, most notably for me was Mystic Force and Jungle Fury had some of the coolest looking non-show things. Like, that was cool for me when I was younger, for kids now, and stuff that I even just like to pick up because it was from one of my favorite seasons, like Jungle Fury or Geki Ranger, and I'm like, oh, I love this suit, this is a really cool armored thing, that's awesome to have on my shelf. And I really like the stuff they did with that, and in some case I think them inventing that and the synergy they had with Saban or Disney gave us like cool US exclusive stuff like the battleizers and the bikes, which I always liked, and the Spirit Rangers, which was cool. And I always liked when we had stuff that that made it unique to the US, which I think was just really cool. Number 4 is the fact that we got most Ranger keys. Again, this is another topic that's kind of controversial in a way because some people really hate the US Ranger keys because they're smaller, but I thought they were decent looking. I like that they just had the flip to them. And the thing is that yes, of course, Japan technically did get most or all of the Ranger keys released, but it wasn't at retail. You had to go to Gashapon, Candy Toy, Premium Bandai, Alchemy. Like, you had to go through so many different channels. It's like a nightmare to track down all those. And I thought it was super cool that even before like they listened to the fan requests and released more sets, we got so many more Ranger keys at retail, because the Ranger keys at retail for Gokaiger were primarily reds and 6th, but here, right from the get-go, we had more colors, more variety in Rangers. I thought that was cool, and the fact that they've basically listened to fan feedback and released multiple additional waves to give us most of the Rangers, and especially little niche ones like, you know, Phantom Ranger and Blue Centurion, stuff like that, was really cool. I like that a lot. It made it a lot easier to collect the Ranger keys, and the fact that they listened to that was cool. And I felt like the fans were a little, in a way, some, not all fans, but some were a little ungrateful. Like, I remember after they released all of them, they're like, well, what about Megazords? It's like, man, come on. That was really cool that they did that. And I don't think it's given enough credit for being a lot easier than the way we dealt with Gokaiger. Number 3 for me is the basic 5-inch figures. I have my favorite mold right here, which is Jungle Fury. And, you know, we definitely saw an evolution of the basic figures. We started with stuff like the flippables and the weirdly misshapen Turbo and Zeo figures, and then, you know, you had the muscly years. I think Jungle Fury and RPM, and then the action heroes too, from Super Mega Force onwards, were probably the best examples of balance. And I know a lot of people didn't always like the overly muscular figures, but the basic figures are one of my favorite parts and traditions of collecting Bandai Power Rangers toys. Like, there was some excitement about, you know, when you know the new season's coming up, heading to your store around November and seeing a fresh wave of 5-inch figures was always really cool. They were always some of my favorite things to collect. I enjoyed seeing the evolution and the history of them, and especially things like the Jungle Fury ones, like I said, RPM, and the Chaser figures that went with those. I think those were really cool, and even like the 4-inch Megaforce figures were really nice, and like I said, the action heroes were really cool too. So number 2, I'm just looking down at my list to make sure I have the order right, because I kind of messed around with the order a little bit. Number 2 is the fact that for basically MMPR through, I believe, Jungle Fury was the last one, we did get the Japanese molds. I mean, give or take, they were changed a little bit. Sometimes some paint was changed around. In the early years, you know, we had the lightning bolt stickers changed up. This is the Jungle Pride instead of Geki Toja. The only difference here is it doesn't light up. Other than that, it's the same. And so for quite a while, we did get more or less the Japanese molds. I mean, I'm sure there's still some extreme purists that are like, it doesn't have that one white stripe, it's blasphemy. It ruins Sentai for everyone. But, you know, we got that for a long time, and I was even pretty okay with the Megazords we got later, and I feel that people just didn't understand that it wasn't cost effective to sell an $80 Megazord at retail for today's market compared to a $25 Megazord. We even tried, if you don't remember, to sell Gosei Great and Shinkano here for like a special release, and they did not sell well. They shelved warm. I think they're still where Toys R Us is abandoned now, but I think that that was really cool. We did get a lot of basically the Japanese molds for a long time, and you can still track those down, and you know, that made for some great collecting, and I won't get too much into the post ones from that, but that was something that was really cool. Okay, number 1 is the Legacy Collection. They definitely dropped the ball at the end there with the figures and doing those weird individual releases of like Tyrannosaurus and Sabretooth, which on paper I got what they were doing, but they basically made less appealing Imaginext figures, which was super weird. So like their last push of Legacy stuff was definitely not good, except the little helmets were kind of cool, but unnecessary. But we did get some cool stuff out of the Legacy line, and that's another thing I feel people forget. Even though I liked going in order, now that we kind of stopped at Shogun and stuff, I'm okay if we mix it up with the Lightning stuff in Hasbro. But again, I feel like people focus so much on the recent stuff, we forget that there was some cool stuff to it, you know? Titanus was good, the Ninja Megazord was good, Shogun Megazord was iffy, I thought White Tiger Zord was good, the Power Morphers were pretty good. They definitely released a lot of variants of those, but those were still cool. It was cool to get the Ninja coin sets. The communicators I thought were really neat. I think the weapons especially were the standout for me. The gold power staff most recently was really cool. The Dragon Dagger, Baby Dragon, Time Wizard, I'm Joey Wheeler, 1000 Dragon, thanks Yug. Anyway, every time I mess up with that I have to go into a Joey bit. But I think the weapons in particular, like Dragon Dagger and Saba, I think might be my all-time favorite things out of the Legacy line. They're like really close to a prop. They look good, they feel good, the sounds are cool, they were just really cool. And I remember before all the MMPR saturation, I used to dream about getting re-releases and stuff of some of the older items that either I felt needed an update or that I hadn't tracked down yet, and that was kind of like a dream come true in some instances, and I think there was some really cool stuff to come out of the Legacy Collection that I'm glad we got. The helmets too, I really like this movie helmets. They all weren't perfect, and they were definitely a little pricey to start, but I thought it was really cool to get something like this that was still less expensive in a way than some of the prop makers. I'd love to see Hasbro tackle that and maybe do a little bit better of a job, but that was still another cool thing. And even though I wasn't huge on the huge Power Sword, that was still a cool release. So it was definitely a mixed bag, but I think the attempt to do that, especially more so with like the roleplay weapons and some of the Zords, was a really neat bit. I thought that was nice, and yeah, again, definitely not the best, but I think I'm really grateful for the stuff we got, especially since some of the stuff we got, who knows how long it'll take for Hasbro to get to, given that it was kind of recent, but we'll have to see. But anyway, that is my list. Let me know what your guys' favorite things were from the Bandai America era. The next one coming out will be a worst video, but I did want to highlight that, you know, it wasn't all all bad for Bandai stuff, especially earlier on, pre-Ninja Steel. There was some cool stuff, and I feel that they got a lot of unnecessary heat in some cases when people didn't understand some of the, you know, the financial things that had to be done. But yeah, like I said, let me know what you guys are. Stay tuned for the worst video. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, Dawson Rider, signing out.